Hello, one and all. Welcome to another episode of Baggers Chat. My name is Mitch Pattinson, and as always, I'm joined by Ethan Duffy. And it's a happy birthday today for you, mate, because of course it's your birthday, 11th of May. We are recording this on a Thursday, but of course we're going to try and release it on Friday morning at 9 a.m. But how are you, mate? Happy birthday, and how's the day treated you so far?
Yeah, it's good, mate. I'm going very well. Hopefully, the Blues kind of perform this weekend for the birthday. In a sense, it's 2 days away, but I'll count it as a week like people usually do. But today's been good. Getting messages and calls and from friends and family. So it's been good, mate.
Yeah, no, it's good to hear, mate. So is there anything planned for the weekend? Other than Carlton, of course, is there anything else on family? As you said, I know that we've had I know that you had at least an hour call with a family member earlier, but how about that, mate? Is there anything else planned for the weekend?
Oh, nothing much really. Obviously Carlton on Saturday night, and obviously had the party last weekend. But I've got a family lunch today, so I'm just going to be talking who's going to be omitted for this clash.
Here we go. All right, so let's get into the bigger things, shall we? So, of course, we're playing the Western Bulldogs this week, round 9. Once again, it's crazy how quickly this season has gone already. So, of course, Saturday, 13th of May this week, 7:30 at Marvel Stadium. So, once again, it's another chance for us just to move on from what we saw last week, and it's just another chance for us just to produce something different. And we give them enough chances. And once again, they have another chance this week. So very quickly before I move on to you, Duffy boy, injury update. So, of course, TDK is fit to play. Of course, if he clears the AFL 12-day concussion protocols. Matt Owies is in contention after a VFL return. So I reckon he's absolute lock in. We need to bring him back into this side. Zach Fisher isn't. So he's not injured, but I also thought I'd mention his game in the VFL. So he got 32 disposals, and he could be back in contention. But it was interesting about Zach Fisher because he was playing on the ball. So that's why I think what we need to try and change, where Zach Fisher's never going to play on the ball as a genuine midfielder in this midfield side, because he's just not I don't think he's good enough where we've got other midfielders, but he might be a good change through that midfield. So that was something that I think we need to try and touch on, where I don't see the point of that. I don't know if we're just trying to get his confidence up with having a big game like that. I'm not too sure, but of course, Matt Cottrell is also the last one who might also be considered. So that will be a big, those 4 players are a big addition if they really are playing well. But Duffy boy, out of those 4, who do you think?
Yeah, obviously they're 4 guys that probably can be in our best 22. I will touch on the inclusions in a sec. But yeah, with all those guys, they can definitely all come in. I think they all provide something different. Obviously, I've got to say, Matty Owies is a lock. He has to be a lock this weekend. I think there's a little stat that this season, every game he's played, we haven't lost. So, Matty Owies, get in the side, please. We need you. But yeah, Fish had a good game. It's just a matter of, do you give him another week, or do you get him straight in? He's definitely good enough to come straight back in.
Yeah.
And obviously Cotters, who could be in my inclusions.
Yeah, spot on. And of course, we will touch on some other injuries that we aren't expected to come back this week. But of course, David Cunningham, Caleb Marchbank, and Jack Martin are all 1 to 2 weeks away. It most likely will be 2 weeks. Unbelievable. I'm going to say that once again. Unbelievable. It's the same few names. I mean, Cunner's a little bit stiff because he, of course, had that ACL injury 2021. And before that, he's been quite good with injuries. I mean, he hasn't had many. But Caleb Marchbank and Jack Martin, same thing every single year, where it's just they get an injury, which turns out to be 1 to 2 weeks, but it turns out to be 6 to 8 and follows on. So, Duffy boy, what are your thoughts on this? Is this more just down to luck, or is it more just down to Andrew Russell and him not doing his job, or is it even the players not doing the correct rehab?
Oh, I think there's a mix of everything there, but I think with these 3 guys, I think they could be the most unluckiest blokes in history. It's actually creating a bit of frustration in the Carlton community, like the fan community, because I think all these 3 guys can be definitely in our best 22 on their day. So it actually hurts us on field. I think Jack Martin would have been perfect the last couple of weeks, just that kind of connecting high half forward.
Yeah.
Marchbank can definitely replace one of our struggling key backs, and then Cunners can provide a bit of pace in that midfield, I think. So I think with these guys, I think you look at the injury report every week and they're 1 to 2 weeks every week. So how long is this fucking 1 to 2 weeks? Is it like what's going on there?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Where it's like you kind of look at me like, oh, okay, 1 to 2 weeks, that will be back in the VFL next week. Oh wait, it's 1 to 2 weeks again. Is that a glitch? The week after, still 1 to 2 weeks. It turns out to be 4 weeks, Tabby boy. So not too sure what's going on there. And of course, to touch on some unlucky players, Sam Philp is of course out for the season once again with a foot injury, which is just I feel really bad for the guy because you can't. I mean, like, of course, you can be angry about it as supporters because we know that this guy was actually quite a shining light to this side, but also you have to feel for him because you know that he wants to be out there more than anyone. And of course, he's out for the season again, along with Zach Williams. So we'll transition now into the potential inclusions. Daffy boy, who have you brought in and who have you brought out of this side from last week?
So I've got 3 ins for mine, and this is a guy I touched on before. Obviously, Matty Owies. I've got Matty Owies coming in the side. My second in is the as Vossi calls him, the super sub. Matty Kennedy's going to be coming in. He'll be playing an actual full-time role as he deserves.
Yeah.
And my third in, it's going to be his first game of the year. It's going to be his first game of the year. The Cotters. I've got Cotters coming in.
Okay.
I'll talk about my outs, and I'll kind of link it back to my ins here. My outs will be obviously Josh Honey, omission. Ed Curnow omission, and I got Ollie Hollands managed just for this week. Maybe I don't know if he's getting his touches, he's getting his running numbers up. I just think he might need a week off and then get him straight back in maybe for a Pies clash next week. So we'll talk about that next week. But I think always kind of he replaces Honey in that small forward role. Ed Kerner, I just feel like he's been kind of drifting in and out of games. He doesn't need to be in our best 22 anymore. We love Ed. If Ed's watching, we love you, mate. But you need a week off, mate. But I think Potter's that perfect kind of link-up guy, especially last year. If there's an injury, half back, he can play that role. If half forward, he can play that role. And on the wing, obviously, for mine, I think he replaces Holland, but he can also play that high half forward role. So, and then obviously, Matty Kennedy is probably replacing. It's just Ed Kerner, but I think he just has to be in for mine. Whether it's playing high half forward, just don't be half back. For Christ's sake, Bossy, please just don't be half back.
Yeah, completely spot on. Those 3 I completely agree with. So, of course, I've made 4 changes this week, and I think we also will just quickly touch on that Nick Newman. Of course, the last episode that we did, we were expecting him to miss, but of course, he is free to play because we appealed it, and I mean, he is free to play. So that's great to see that Nick Newman, because I mean, we know how valuable he is for this side. So for him to be in that back 6, and maybe brings, now that Nick Newman is playing, I've actually brought someone out of that back line. So, of course, I brought in Matt Canny, Matt Owies, Matt Cottrell. I completely the same. And I brought in Jordan Boyd. Okay. So I brought in Jordan Boyd. So that gives you a little bit of a clue of who could it be, Daffy Boy? Who could it be? So, of course, I've got the exact same omissions and managed. So I've got Ed Kerner out, Josh Honey out. I don't think he used to play another AFL game again, unless he well and truly, when he comes into an AFL team, and I don't know what his role is, because if it's too similar to, like, Jesse Motlop, they have a different type of X factor. Zach Fisher, you have a different type of X factor when he plays. You've got a Corey Dern down there who's got this speed. What does Josh Honey offer that is different? That's my one question, and I feel like Vossi just needs to send him back to the VFL and maybe change a role, because obviously that just isn't working for him. So Ollie Hollands, of course, I've got as well managed. I think I completely agree. I don't want to burn the kid out, because when you start to play too many matches, when you've got a guy like Matt Cottrell there, and also Lockie O'Brien, who played half decent as well. Matt Cottrell's my first pick. I think Cottrell has to come in for Hollands, because that's a like. Now, my last one, the vice captain, Jacob Wiedering. Jacob Wiedering, I am dropping it. And everyone would be saying, I don't think we can afford it. I don't think we can afford it as well. I am saying, if I was in the coaching box and team selection this week, you need to put a line in the sand. Now, I'm going to say this. So, of course, if Sam Durden was fit, Jacob Wiedering would be omitted, in my opinion. If he was fit, that would be a like. But I'm going to say this right now. I think if we were to drop Wiedering this week, I don't think we will, but I'm saying if I was a coach, Lewis Young to go on Rory Lobb, okay? Brody Kemp to have his chance to have his second, the second defender and to go on the best key forward in the lineup, which is Aaron Norton. And size-wise, I think Brody Kemp's about 192. Aaron Norton's only 4 centimeters taller than him. So it is a bit of a gap, but I think Brody Kemp is quite good in the air, like aerially, like aerial, what's the word? Aerial.
Yes.
I think he's quite good to be like in the air. He's quite agile. So I think it's good to see that Brody Kemp, and I reckon we can well and truly actually get this done. And then also, as we spoke about before the episode, Uwe Hagen, if he's not playing, because he's obviously a test this week, he might not be playing. And even if he is playing, I think Mitch McGovern can be that intercept defender, but also go on Uwe Hagen as well. So out of those guys, is that like, especially with Jacob Weitering, is this something that we could afford to do this week?
It's a topic. I think a lot of people you don't really want to talk about it because we shouldn't be talking about Weitering getting dropped, which is obviously the way he's been playing. Like you said, he should be on borderline dropped, but it's going to be tough. I think if Uwe Hagen plays, even if the other guys play, it's going to be. I like your reasoning. I 100% love your reasoning. Like I'll do it in a heartbeat. Yeah. But I just feel like this with Kemp, Young, and Gov, they can be 3 guys that not inexperienced, but like especially down back, you just don't have that leader. I know 100% Weeders is like been terrible. He's been terrible, but I feel like he's the type of guy that could stand up in a game like this against a 4 tall lineup. I think you just can't afford to have it. Maybe you might go next week against the Pies. Their forward line's obviously more small, so. Yeah. You could do it. I don't know. It's tough. It's so tough. Like you said, Sam Durden would come straight in, I reckon, for mine. Unfortunately, he's injured, of course, the week we bloody need him. So, it's going to be interesting. Their tall forwards are dangerous, but we can get it done. I think we match up well against them most years.
Yeah, yeah. And so that's the one thing about Weitering is that I probably would rather than him being omitted, I just want him to come because we all know that something is in his head when he goes out to play the game. And that is not good enough from a vice captain. We love you, Weitering, if you're watching. We love you. But I think he just needs to put the team first at the moment. And we don't know if he is every single week say, no, I'm fine. I want to try and go out there and show he might think that his number one priority is the Carlton Football Club. And of course we want him. We want that. But it just doesn't seem like that. He just seems lost. And that's not like Jake Weitering that we've ever seen before. And we drafted him in 2015, end of 2015. We haven't seen this before. So that's just one thing about I don't know whether it's because I also had here Weitering omitted, but also managed. Either or, just have him, just give him a break for a little bit. And whether it's Weitering coming out and saying, I need a break, or if it's Vossi saying, mate, we are giving you a break. You need to sort out your head. Either or, I just think it needs to happen in the next few weeks before the season is over. Because in the next few weeks, he's playing in the most important position. You can't afford to have that out there with a guy that's might be vulnerable to this side. And I'm not saying he is, because we know how much we love Weitering. We know how good of a player he could be. Right now, he just needs to sort out his head. So we're now, of course, transition into some of the lines in the for this week, of course. And, of course, we'll start off with the defenders against their forwards. So, of course, I'll put the defenders. I didn't put any names down there, but, of course, it's expected to be Lewis Young and Jacob Weitering up against Aaron Norton and Rory Lobb, with, of course, Uwe Hagen also a threat down there. So we just touched on it, of course. But out of those 3, and maybe some small forwards as well to touch on, who do you think is the most worrying for you?
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, this year I haven't really tuned into too many Dogs games. Obviously, on the Friday nights I have, but they just don't really appeal to me very much. No disrespect, they're playing all right footy. They're very decent side, but I think that's their weapon this season. I think obviously they've got a lot of forwards. In Rory Lobb, who's obviously has his mixed critics. Obviously, he's got his positive critics. I think he's actually solid. As that kind of high half forward taking clunks, and obviously Aaron Norton's hit and miss. He can grab the ball, just can't kick the ball. Hopefully that happens again this weekend. But like I said before, Weitering can do a job on any of these blokes. I think he can. Probably a Lob, I'd imagine he'd go to. I know it's tough because they're all very agile in a way, aren't they? So, and obviously they got their smalls in Waitman and Artie Jones, who's been pretty handy as well. But I think we can get the job done there in the small forward kind of department.
Mm. And yeah, like also like Arthur Jones, he's playing some sort of a set. Like I think he's been that X factor down in the forward line because
Yes.
when Waitman was kind of like when he was having those few weeks off, I think it was the injury and he was of course brought back into the side. That's added something to the doggies and they seem a little bit quicker because of course they have the three tools down there with Norton, Lobb, and Ugelhagen, which is also a little bit agile, but you also have Waitman down there with Arthur Jones and also Scott as well. Like there's a few guys down there that can transition through there. And of course, Bontempelli can also go down there as well. So I think out of those forwards that I just mentioned, and of course you mentioned as well, I just think the one name is probably Aaron Norton. I think he's a big threat, especially at Marvel. If he starts taking some marks and he can have his kicking boot on Saturday night, he's going to be a big threat for us for, of course, the game. But now we'll transition now into the midfield. So as we do every single week, we name 3 midfielders from us and 3 midfielders from them. I've taken Walshy out and I've brought the guy that we expect to play a full game, of course, this week. So Patrick Cripps, Matthew Kennedy, and Adam Chera, who's had an absolutely fantastic season, coming up against a guy who's also probably leading the Brownlow medal right now, which is, of course, Marcus Bontempelli, Liberatore, and, of course, Bailey Smith. So Smith is having a pretty underrated season as well. I think he's been great. And, of course, with Adam Trawler missing this week with a hamstring injury, I think Bailey Smith will probably be, I guess, taking over that Trawler role in a way, which he'll get a little bit more ball and a little bit more set and bounce attendance. So out of these 3, and of course, maybe also add Jack McRae in there as well. Who do you think is the biggest threat for the Western Bulldogs midfield?
Yeah, well, I think a name there with Jack McRae. I think his clearance work is phenomenal. And I think if we can't get on top of that, it's going to really hurt us considering our ball movement out of back 50, D50. Yeah, I think with the clearance game, obviously that was what we kind of based our game off last year. It's going to be crucial this weekend if we can get some clean clearances, get it deep inside 50. So I feel like when we break it even with teams, like we don't tend to lose the clearances, do we? We don't tend to lose them, but I think if we break even, it's almost we lose the game.
Yeah,
I think we really need to dominate in that area, and that's going to be tough with Bontempelli, who's probably arguably the best player in the competition right now. I know we've got the Brownlow medalist there, but I think Bontempelli is Jesus, man. Like if you're a Supercoach fan and you got him, he's the man to have. And then obviously Libba, he's another clearance ball, and then like Bailey Smith, like you said, he provides that pace inside and outside though. I think that's the thing about him. But then you look at our guys, Cripps, he's having a solid year, I think. I think he struggled a lot last week. Just think he couldn't get his game going much. A lot, really, the team couldn't. But Kennedy obviously had his 13 touches last week, and I think he can really help us in that kind of stoppage and clearance game. He drives the ball forward for us. I think he's that guy, he's that kind of barometer in terms of we know when he has the ball, he's getting it fucking 100 meters down the ground. You know what I mean? Like he loves getting the ball forward, which I love. And Adam Chera is leading the BNF, and I think if he keeps playing like this, he's got to be up there with the top players in the competition this season. I think I saw something on SEN yesterday. They were saying, he's having a great year, like stats wise, but I think his impact's been enormous. He's not just having empty stats, so it's good to see, and he's just showing the class because we got him over from the Dockers for pick 8, pick 9, and everyone was kind of going, but we got a genuine midfielder. You get a lock. With a pick 8 or 9, you don't know if it's going to be good or not. It might be a bust. The way we've been picking, the last 5 or 6 years. So, Ches has been good. And the midfield battle, I think we won it last year. So hopefully we'll win it again this year.
Yeah. And you touch on there about Adam Chera, which I completely agree where he doesn't get enough credit because the games that we're losing, he's still probably getting Brownlow votes. So there's not a lot of talk about Adam Chera right now. And of course, last week when he had that press conference, I think that's how you can tell, and that's another thing we can touch on actually about Adam Chera. Actually, let's very quickly touch on that, I reckon, because of course, the last episode we were talking about Brian Cook and saying, I guess about the whole thing about if we don't make finals, it's not a failure. It's not a failure, which we were like, wow, that's a leader of the club. But it now seems that it's transitioning now into the players and the coaches. So very quickly before we touch on something else to do with the midfield, Adam Chera, with him saying that, do you reckon that was a mistake from his end? Do you reckon that was saying that that he well and truly believes? Because I could feel a little bit of he didn't want to say it. It was very just an act in a way. And I feel like a lot of our press conferences, and of course they have to be a lot of it. They have to be very professional. But do you reckon that was a little bit of an act from Adam Chera's point of view?
Yeah, well, if you like, for everyone who's watched most of the press conference, it was like an 8-minute press conference. Most of the answers were very similar in terms of, it's like he's gone before the media team's gone. You got to get these questions, and this is the lines we want you to prepare for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it now, and I'm not so angry about what kind of Cook and Chera are saying. Obviously, the finals the goal, and clearly Chera is going to want to play finals, right? So you're going to look at it that way. And I think someone said, I know it's frustrating now, but I think in terms of growth for our team, it's not going to be linear. It's not just going to be straight up and we're going to win a premiership. It's going to come with little fucking, fluctuations. You know what I mean? I know it's hard to say right now because we just want top four, premiership. But in growth, in terms of, do you just want to be a finals team or do you win the whole fucking lot?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're building a team to get to there. We're not building a team to be 6th to 10th, like a lot of teams have done for a long time, Obviously, the way we're playing, have a go at the performance. Yeah. Have a go at the performance because the performances have been terrible.
Yeah.
But in terms of the way that the players looking at it, obviously they're wanting to keep building. Obviously, it's right now it's a struggle because we're 4-3, but look in 3 weeks' time if we're winning games and you go, shit, maybe they're right in terms of we're just trying to build. Yeah. Obviously he said that the performances aren't good enough.
Yeah.
But I think that answer, like you said, I think it was more prepared for him rather than he wanted to say it. I think it's really tough answer. Like, I know you go like, oh, yeah, we want to play finals. And then in 10 weeks' time, we miss by a game again. And then they go, oh, look at Chera, what he said. You know what I mean? It was more of a PR, like I guess, like a, media trained question and answer. So it's tough to really put a finger on it.
Yeah, and we touched on there about Chera, and I guess just like there's no way that these players can go into a season and not think about there's no way. And
there's no way.
And there's no way that there's people who would and that's what I'm saying about Adam Chera and about this press conference in particular was I think it seemed quite staged, but also there's no way that he can walk out of that press conference and be because he's obviously getting told to act like that. Which is completely fine because he's a player, but and also he's a young player. It's not I would have loved to see Cripper or Weeders actually do that press conference. Why was it Chera? That was what to do with it. So unbelievable to really, and we won't spend too much time on that because that's in the past, and now we're looking forward. So, of course, now we'll touch on the rucks. Pitnet v English. So English right now is probably one of the best ruckmen in the comp right now, but I don't know what it's something in me, Duffy boy. I think it's more to do with the, of course, the love for Pitto. But I think he can actually beat English this week. What do you reckon?
Yeah, well, I think he's been fantastic English for them. I think he's almost a fourth midfielder when he's in there. And his tap work's been a lot better this season. I think the past seasons, I think internally the Dogs have kind of underrated him, and they've always had someone with him like a Stephen Martin. But I think he's kind of flourishes on his own. Because he's that midfielder who runs all day. He was getting 30 touches in the wet against fucking West Coast or something. That's a ruckman, man. He's a very, very modern day ruckman. I think he's very, very good. It'll be a tough task for Pitto in terms of around the ground because he goes real deep. He gets the kicks from the kickouts. I've got him in Supercoach. Every Dogs game I'm focusing on how he plays, and obviously it's just he's deep in defence and then down forward he's kicking goals. Yeah, and it's just around the ground he's picking balls up. It's going to be a tough task for Pitto, but tap work wise, it's going to be a bit of a tough for English because I think Pitto, he's kind of not setting the benchmark, but I think he's definitely up there with a Gorn or a Grundy in terms of tap work. He's kind of setting the benchmark, so it's going to be a good kind of matchup for him.
Yeah, completely spot on. And with, of course, Rory Lobb transitioning through as that second ruck up against, hopefully it is a Lewis Young, but it might be a Silvani. I'm going to ask this now. Do you reckon you would rather Lewis Young or Jack Silvani as a second ruck?
I think this weekend it's got to be Sauce.
And that's for a sense of because their forwards are so tall that, spot on. I completely agree. And I think that might confuse Lewis Young a little bit too much. It does. Yes. And I think Silvani, if he transitions through that as that second ruck, I reckon that's great for him because he gets more of the ball. He's around it more. So I reckon he's actually quite a solid second ruck, Silvani. And he can come up against a Rory Lobb, and of course he'll probably lose a tap. but it's his ground ball gets and it's around that because he can be more agile and he can be a little bit more like ground ball. Like he can act like a midfielder rather than a ruckman because that we've got Pitnet there as well. So I don't know. Like I completely agree. I think Silvani has to be the second ruck this week, but of course with the ruckman, I know Pitnet. I reckon he is well and truly up to this contest, but I just have a feeling that if he can start to get going and the midfielders can start to get going, there's something about this week where I just feel everything might click. And I don't want to jinx anything at all. But I'm really excited, and of course to get it into the forward line, we have to touch on our forwards. So of course Harry Mackay and Charlie Curnow up against Gardner, and of course the former Blue Liam Jones. So this is of course the first time that he's played against his former side. Hopefully there is a bit of jump.
Yeah, it could be, I reckon.
But I hope there is, because I hope that we get into him and say, I mean, it doesn't matter what he chose. He chose to go to the Western Bulldogs, but be bold. It's the same thing as last year. Just be. Like last year, and we weren't afraid of plays. We weren't intimidated. This year, just be more bold. Try and get in their faces. So forward line, of course, Harry Mackay and Charlie Curnow. What do you think might shape out this contest? And of course, who do you think will go on which?
Yeah, well, you look at those two blokes. We say it every week. For fuck's sake, just break open the game. Obviously, Charlie's been good. I thought he struggled last week, but in terms of ball use going inside 50, like fuck, how are you gonna kick goals out of that inside? Like we barely hit up a lead. I think we hit up like 2 leads last week. So that's got to improve. We win games off the back of that stuff. So and obviously Harry, I think he cops a lot, Harry. I think he cops, obviously, he's kicking and there's always talk about that. There's been talk about that for his whole career, for Christ's sake. Even when he won the Coleman, everyone was sooking that he snapped it all the time. I think his work around the ground is phenomenal. But I just want to get your thoughts on Charlie. There's 3 guys in the competition with ball in hand that are their stats wise biggest impact on the game. Like when they have the ball, their impact biggest in the competition. Number 1, Jeremy Cameron.
Yeah.
Number 3 is Dacos, Nick Dacos. Who's number 2? Who's number 2?
Oh, well, Charlie. Yeah, Charlie. Yeah,
Charlie.
Yeah.
I want him up the ground.
Yeah.
I want Harry 1 out in the fucking 50. He's a big lad. Can't take him on one-on-one. I want Charlie up the ground playing that kind of Jeremy Cameron. Have you seen his ball use? Like,
it's fantastic.
He targets. He's the only guy actually hits targets going forward.
Yeah.
Like he just around the play. Like he's that athlete. He's explosive.
Yeah.
I think we're too afraid to have him, higher up the ground. I don't know why. He's literally like a Cameron in terms of body type.
Yeah.
His ball use is good enough. He gets a lot of the ball.
Yeah.
I want Harry a bit more deeper because then he'll get more of his balls. I feel like in 2021, he was more deep, obviously being the one guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He can go up the ground too. Not saying he can't.
Yeah.
But the time comes, I want him deep one-on-one in that goal square.
Yeah.
Let him be his own. But yeah, what are your thoughts, mate?
Well, I completely agree because I reckon when, like in our first 10 rounds last year, what we were seeing a little bit, and I don't remember for sure, but I feel like what it was is Harry Mackay was playing deeper because he was, of course, a reigning Coleman medalist, and Charlie Curnow was up the ground getting the ball to Harry.
Yes.
So that's the thing. And I'm like, and of course, this is why we're so fortunate that we have 2 forwards playing up the ground. But I reckon Charlie Curnow is the perfect, and we've been crying out for this for about 4 or 5 weeks because we've been seeing Jeremy Cameron dominate moving up the ground and stuff. And that's just another aspect that Geelong can really rely on to really get them going. But if we can have that where Harry Mackay is deep forward, as you said, he will get more goals and he'll get more shots on goal. Harry just needs more shots on goals, more shots on goal so he can get his confidence up. He's just not getting enough shots on goal. Just Charlie, I reckon he would be the perfect guy to move up the forward and actually up the ground and actually get the ball into Harry. So I completely agree. Of course, now we'll just quickly touch on the small forwards as well. Of course, I've just got, speaking about Harry Mackay and Charlie Curnow, I think the small forwards have to be touched on. So I think very likely that we'll see Matt Owies return. And of course, with Jesse Motlop down there and Corey Dern, and maybe even a Zach Fisher might come in after that really good game in the VFL. Who do you see maybe coming in, and how do you see that small forward shaping out with maybe Silvani playing as that second ruck? It might give the chance for the small forwards to really start to dominate this game.
Oh, I think the one key problem we're having with our smalls is kicking goals.
Yeah.
They can't kick goals, man.
Yeah.
Like we just don't. It's getting ridiculous. We're getting no goals out of them. Obviously, Motlop had a couple on the weekend and Dirds won, but it's just in terms of consistency. Every single week, it's always like zeros and ones and two. Yeah. And I think Matty Owies is that guy. He's that hit up lead type guy, but also can play good around the ground. I think he kicked 3 in that first quarter, or against the Giants and got injured or whatever. So 2 maybe, but in the week before he had 3 and then against the Cats. So he's important to that crew.
Yeah.
Those little nuggety forwards like Durden and Motlop, they can fight for the footy, push up the ground a little bit higher, and then allow kind of Owies to have that one-on-one, which I think he can have. So important, get goals. I want 2 goals out of each of them. We win the game if there's 2-2-2.
Yeah.
Or 6 combined, I'll say.
Yeah.
I'm putting that on. I'll put them on them, mate. Challenge to them. Dirds, Motts, and fucking Owies, mate.
Yeah. And more for just their I guess just an X factor sort of performance, because what it is, like Corey Dern, like you would look at those stats and Corey Dern and Jesse Motlop got the 2 goals, but they weren't at the crunch time towards. They were at the shitty time towards the junk time. Yeah. So of course that's when Brisbane Lions were starting to drop their level because they know that they've won the game. So you kind of if Corey Dern gets the first goal or Jesse Motlop gets the first goal and Matt always gets the first goal and takes his jumper, mate, get it around him. Just get around him. And this is why he's so important. And this is why I love Matt Owies, because he gets everyone just on him. Not everyone on him literally, but just try and really tug the jumper and reignite the performance. I guess what we might say on Saturday night is just get around him. If he kicks a goal, get around him. Don't let him celebrate on his own. Get around him. That's all I'm asking for. That's all we're asking for. So, of course, before we move into our match predictions, we just want to very quickly touch on who might our sub be. So, I think it could be a very tactical sort of sub. I want a name from you, Daffy Boy, because I think mine's pretty clear, and I'm going to explain why later on. So, who's your sub if you had to choose it right now?
Oh, it's tough. It's tough to think about. Whether you bring in someone else, it could be. I don't know. There's a name that's in the corner of my head. I've got one that's certain, but there's one in the corner of my head. He's a big fella. He's a big boy. He's a big boy. I want to say him first.
Yeah.
This is not my lock, but I want to say TDK is a chance.
Wow.
I'm going to say TDK is a chance. I don't know. There's something about second half. He comes on. Dogs are a bit. Oh fuck, he's on. Fresh legs. My actual lock. He just got dropped. He can play multiple positions, half back, half forward, mid.
Yeah.
Ed Kerner. He's going to be the sub.
Completely spot on. And interesting about TDK is and I think it's the same conversation. I think Richmond did it, I think last year when they, of course, played Ivan Soldo as their ruck. And I think they had a small forward or a back pocket, which was injured. So small player was coming off, but then Ruckman was coming on. But that was my only thing about, because I actually looked at TK and I'm like, he could be the sub. But I just don't know if, and of course we never hope for injuries, but that is a possibility with this sub. So if, say, a Corey Durden or a Jesse Motlop comes off with a hamstring injury, or maybe Matt Owies after he gets those injury and after he's coming back from his injury, he might be a little bit tight. And then you bring TDK on, and then that's when it's 3 tolls down there, also Silvani down there as well. I don't know. So after saying that, would you reckon? I reckon Ed Kerner is probably the lock. I think he has to be. And I'm going to say why. So with Marcus Bontempelli, if he dominates, I would see Ed Kerner come on at halftime. If Bontempelli has 25 touches at halftime, he's getting off the leash and he's dominating, you can put Ed Kerner on the ground at halftime and the third quarter and trust that he's going to tag Bontempelli and limit his ball use. So that's why I think Ed Kerner is the perfect sub. Like we speak about Matt Kenny, him being the perfect sub. Is he? Because I reckon Ed Kerner would be even better because he can be that tagger. Matt Kenny can't be a tagger. He's more attacking. When Ed Kerner, and we've touched on it the past few weeks, where he can be that negative midfielder to try and take time and try and take possessions away from the opposition's best player. And that is Marcus Martinelli. So, of course, match predictions, the last thing that we'll touch on before we wrap up the episode. Daffy boy, I need your best on ground, point of difference, winner pass margin. This is going to be interesting.
Best on ground, Adam Sard. I think it's going to be the game. I think he's been good this season, but I think it's going to be the game where the fucking midfield is actually on the same wavelength as the bloke when he tries to take on these good kicks. So hopefully him and Cincotta provide some run off D50. So he's my BOG. Point of difference, he's the redhead himself, Matty Cottrell. I feel like he's the point of difference most of the year last year.
Yep.
I think he was that kind of weapon. He's underrated. No one really knows him from other teams. Obviously, we love him. He's Carlton through and through, that bloke. But yeah, no, I think he's going to be the point of difference and maybe kick a couple snags under the marble roof. Pato, I wasn't going to tip us after probably an hour after last week's game. But I've turned the corner, like we all do. But seriously, I think this is going to be an important game for our season.
Yeah.
To get going again. I know we've said that the last couple of weeks, but I think this is the one, a very, very winnable game. They're good, not underrating them whatsoever. It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
They're not going to make it easy for us, but I think we're going to win by 12 points, Pato, at Marble Stadium.
Yeah. And so the importance of this game is, I see as where if we can get the win against Doggies, we can go and it's the same thing as St Kilda. Then we beat West Coast, then we versus Brisbane. It's the same thing. But then, of course, after this week, we've got the arch rivals in Collingwood, and that's going to be. It's already sold out, so that's going to be Sunday 3:20. Carlton v Collingwood. We have the redemption from last year.
Yep,
mate. If you can't get up for a game, if you can't get up for that game, I don't know what else you can do as a professional footballer. That is going to be one of the matches of the season, hopefully. And hopefully we get the win, hopefully. So, of course, with Carlton, there's a lot of hopes, but let's just make it certainties. So, of course, match predictions for me, best on ground, Matt Kennedy. He's going to he's going to say, Michael Voss, I don't give a shit on the perfect sub. I'm going to make sure that I'm in this best 22, and he is going to absolutely dominate. I'm calling about 29 touches with 2 goals. Point of difference, this is a bit off, of course, with Jacob Wiedering maybe being dropped. I've gone Brody Kemp. And I reckon if he's given that opportunity to be the second tall or even the number 1 tall, he could be the point of difference. And he could really... And what I love about Brody Kemp is how attacking he is. And we spoke about it last episode. Don't go in your shell and worry about you making a mistake. That's why you're so effective. If you're to take the ball on, that's why you are effective. It's effective. Yeah. So I just want Brody Kemp to not go into his shell. I don't want him to go back to the Lewis Young. And this is why Lewis Young's good as well, because he isn't as attacking. But we need different types of defenders. And Brody Kemp is a different defender. And Wiedering and Young are too similar. So that's why I reckon Kemp is quite he's actually quite valuable to this side. So I completely spot on. I wasn't even going to go this week to the game. Probably like 5 minutes after the game last week, I'll text you saying, like, Duffy, I'm not going to this game. Fuck him. But you know what? Winner pass margin, Blue Baggers by 23 points. Go to the Baggers. We don't give a shit about what happened last week. No. To be realistic, I think we just need that line in the sand. We've been calling for it the past month. We need that line in the sand of something different. Something different that is similar to last year, but also it's a type of difference where we can be like, wow, they actually have improved.
Yeah.
Don't be like, oh, no, they're just the same. They have improved because we need to improve by this much. We literally needed 1 point last year. Why do they need to improve so much? They don't need to change much. They just need to improve by 3.74%, and that's what they need to get into this final 8. So I reckon that was I reckon that was a little bit more professional than the last episode. Of course, I think the last episode was a little bit raw, a little bit a lot of swear words, Duffy boy, of course. But Is there anything else you want to touch on the birthday boy?
Just get it done, boys. We need a bit of breath of fresh air because I don't want to be going 4-4 and 1 into Collingwood because I think they will be 8-1 heading into our games. No, hopefully just get the win and then we'll obviously build it up pretty big that game because we need to get them back. Fuck them. We need to get them back. I'm sick of it.
Yeah. And if we beat the Dogs and the Pie, I mean, this is you watch, we will lose the next two. We'll be like, our season's fucked. But if we can just get up for this game, this can really reunite our season. And our season's not done. The supporters are like, oh my God, we're doomed, mate. We're still in the 8. We're still in the 8. And we're not playing somehow, but we're not playing our best football whatsoever. So I'm still optimistic. I don't think I'll be as cocky as I usually am about saying, oh no, I can't do this club in the land. I think just right now we need to be more reasonable where we aren't going to be optimistic. We aren't going to be sure and certain about this club until they give us some certainties back. We aren't going to go into a game and be like, oh, I hope they play some good football. Show us the good football every single week. That is the limit. It's now exceeding that limit and playing better than what you even knew. So I know. So I'm really excited for this week. So of course, make sure you're getting down 7:30 Marvel. It's a big game this week. So make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We just reached, I think, 430 subscribers. Our last episode, we did quite well. I don't know if that was because you guys like to see us go off on nada after a loss. I don't know. But I think it's always a pleasure coming on here and doing and speaking our mind with this club that we love so much. So Daft Boy, make sure to have a great day today. Happy birthday to you. And as always, to the Baggers, up the Baggers.